which way shit's going. Spent too much time in hibernation. Sleep, what went wrong? Things changed from lift off up until the destination was reached. Mind and body weak, gone from the stress on the brain. Lost in the void of space, what does it really take to stay sane and maintain stability? Is this really me floating in the maze haze of what will I, could I, who should I be? Am I destined to weep and cry my life away for all the wrong mistakes I made and take the blame? Damn, this shit is so insane. Just wanna flow free like a river into the ocean, not headed what for the fucking drain. Life caught up in disarray, system malfunctioning, made days instead of paydays. Red light blinking, thinking where's the green? Hoping this is a dream, it only seems to be a nightmare. Scared, pure fear of the unknown. Where's here? Do you know what I mean? Journeys through the galaxies at light speed. Please, just catch me.
Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished. Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished.
Yeah, I'm ready for liftoff, like a hooper when it's tip-off. Yeah, I'm ready to score, ready for war. Polishing my floor so I can shine like a diamond in the store. I sparkle like the son of Allah, creating rain, hail, and earthquakes, the God in the flesh. And they say God makes no mistakes. From natural disaster to calm and laughter, I'm balancing the scales like a yin-yang master. Emotional intelligence is energy intelligence. The wise use the mind to align with the elements. Health is a benefit. Treat the body like a temple. They creating viruses to end you. State to state, new mandates are taking place. World's using faith as the government vaccinates. Hard to keep your head on straight in this world of the stage. Reptilians post as heads of state and Congress. You gotta shine on regardless. Glow amongst the godless, rising Christ conscious. Free yourself from mental bondage and let there be carnage to the dragon, the beast, and harlot. In Revelation, I got the heart of a gladiator, lightsaber like Luke and Darth Vader. Training like a Jedi Knight to fight ops to get the crowd jumping like a New Year's ball drop. Let's go!
Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished. Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished. Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished. Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished.
Peace, power, and prosperity, y'all. Ron Blackstorm. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I talk about spirituality, esoteric science, and mysticism, but in a practical way for personal spiritual development. And without further ado, I have a special guest here tonight. Welcome, the Black Dot, Duane Bowser. Welcome, Black Dot. Welcome to the channel.
Peace, peace. Pleasure is all mine to be here with you in this time and space. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. Let me find out you got bars. I didn't know you had bars like that. I didn't know.
Yeah, I got a little something to stash, you know.
Oh no, that was fine. That was fine.
Oh, thank you, man. Coming from an MC like you, man, a true MC, I appreciate that. That means a lot.
What you have immediately is mic presence, and so the minute your voice hits the track, just like your physical presence, and so your mic presence matches your physical presence, and I felt that. That was dope.
Thank you, Dot. I appreciate that. Definitely coming from a legend like yourself, for sure, for sure. All right, let's get it started. So, Dot, you know, we met at Writer's Block in Brooklyn, but we met before that at I believe Nicholas Brooklyn. Shout out to Nicholas Brooklyn.
Yep.
First time you came with Blue Pill. Pleasure meeting you as always. One thing I noticed about you, and we're going to talk about the book and get into that, which I started reading about at page 40. So I'm not thoroughly in all of it. So I'll ask you to put together some of the pieces, to be honest. And I'm going to lie, sometimes there was time I was reading it, I was in the bathroom. I had to put it down, man. It's a heavy
Yeah.
book, man. It's a heavy
Yeah,
book, and
yeah.
it'll take you to a place, this cancer season, it's all about that type of, vibration of healing and things like that, and going into ancestry and home and the bloodline, where you come
Yes.
from, because we come from a people of roots. And if you don't know
Yes.
where you are, you're not going to know where you're going. So this to me is like going into your roots, going into your real source code, the source code of the Black Dot. And it
Yes.
showed me you from the person that I met, and to see the person that you are now to the person that you were and what you went through, it's a supernova. Like, it's a heck of a transformation, man. And definitely something to discuss. So what I want to ask you, Dot, you're very humorous when you do your speeches. You would always inject it with a lot of humor. Even Urban X, shout out to you, shout out to Malcolm with Urban X. That was, I told you face to face, that was my news source. We miss y'all dearly. Hopefully you come back soon, man. Hopefully you and Malcolm come back together. We need y'all, especially in this time, with all these wars and floods and, rumors and, rumors of wars and things like that.
Rumors of war. Yeah, yeah.
People think it's the time of the end right now, Dot. They think Christ is going to come back on some golden slippers and snatch everybody. They got this thing with the chosen. Everybody think they chosen. They're gonna get levitated up out of here. So, but I wanted to ask you, what are some of your hobbies, Black Dot? What are some of the things that you do besides being a scholar, author, and metaphysician?
I love humor, and so I love observing the world, and I love making humor out of most of it, but also the in terms of hobbies, I love playing ball. I can't play as much as I would like to. I picked up more subtle hobbies like sports watching and spending time with my son and engaging in great conversation. And so those are the things that really keep me going every day. And observing the world, seeing where the world is going, watching trends, watching patterns. And I don't know if that's a Virgo thing, but I'm really big on patterns, people's behavior, and it helps me shed light on where we're going. You know what I mean? So that's mainly what I do. And I love music, not just making music. I love listening to quality music. Those will be the hobbies that really, I feel move me or move my spirit.
Excellent. Dot, what do you think about, so let's go into a little bit of spirituality. What is God to the Black Dot? What is God to you? How would you define that?
The unknowable, the unachievable, the unreachable, in the sense of not spookism, but having to elevate to such high degrees, the potentiality of such is always there. And so that's the reason I chose the name Black Dot, is because I want to be a portal or a reference point to greater and higher things. But the pursuit of greatness in spirituality and awareness is, to me, being in pursuit of coming face to face with God, or what you would perceive as God. I do feel that there is a codex here which mathematically has something to do with the reality as we understand it, because everything is tying back to mathematics, and your perception of those level of mathematics determines the awareness that you are of all things that exist. Now, what do I mean by that? Like growing up, I mean, anything past algebra for me, I was fucked. You know what I mean? However, my daughter understood trigonometry. My wife understood trigonometry. I tell a story on my podcast all the time. When Eli was young and it was just adding, subtracting, multiplication, he thought I was God. The way I would help him manipulate those numbers, hold a set of numbers over here, multiply these, add those zeros, he was cracking codes. Then they came home with letters in the goddamn, and
I
played it off. I played it off with him as long as I could. And then he just looked at me and said, like, yo, you don't know shit, do you? You know what I mean? And so the awareness, and so if I can use that as a terminology of understanding just how complex anything considered to be God would be, it is that now. That's a linear perspective. My awareness overall may allow me to have access to understandings that you may not be ready for. And so when we criticize people or we talk down to people, or we don't understand that they are processing the math around them to the best of their ability. And as a result of that, the deeper equations of quantum are not available to them now. And so to me, I would say God is a complex mathematical equation, you know what I'm saying, that continues to write code within its existence. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I've never saw God as, besides, you know, growing up in a Christian church, that, you know, God is in the sky and the devil
Right.
is. But once, that's like your rudimentary math. Once you begin to apply mathematics in any capacity, now you need answers. And when X solves for this, now I've spent the rest of my life trying to solve for X. And
Right.
the more and more I solve, the more complex the damn equation becomes. You know what I mean? And so that's why those who love math, you know, they have an affinity for solving problems that most of us can't even fathom, because math is at the end of everything and it's at the beginning of everything. And, you know, so that's where we have to kind of get in where we fit in, you know?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, that's what a lot of times the Kemetic dynasties, well, not a lot of times, this is what they how their foundation was on Ma'at, which is where they got the word mathematics from, right?
Mhm.
It's a derivative of Ma'at. And Ma'at was always about balance, but the heart and the feather is its own equation, right? Balancing your heart as
Yes.
a feather, being as light as a feather, where the heart is your willpower or your drive and your desire. And to me, the feather is like your soul, right? Your spiritual power, you know, and how that those how do you say, your intuition is able to power your will, or your soul and your spirit is able to power your will. Because without no energy, there's no willpower, right? Without that
Absolutely.
drive, you could want to stop smoking, you could want to stop eating, you could want to stop doing anything. But if you don't have the energy for it,
Yes.
you're going to get swept up by that energy of the desire, right? So
Yes. Yes.
it's very important to understand that. So yeah, I love your definition of God as an equation. That's something Sun Ra, the jazz singer, always talked about. You know, God
Sun
being
Ra.
an equation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
God being an
Absolutely.
equation and mathematics. Black Dot, I've seen you and your wife, you know, several times, a couple of times now, and you know, I love when you speak. You know, me and Mama Dot, I love Mama Dot. You know what I'm saying? If I see her in the street and something happens, I'm gonna fuck somebody up for her. And with that being said, I see her when she looks at you and you're delivering your speeches or your talks. She looks at you with such reverence. You know, at one time I was a person who was like, I'm never getting married, you know, but I saw a couple brothers, you, the homie Adika Butler, the homie from the homie, Adika Butler, my other
Yes.
homie Michael Bell, you know, men I consider honorable men, you know, with wives and things like that. Tell me the importance of having a partner on the hero's journey.
Wow, that is a great question, because um, that partner is there, especially the female energy. We as men, we solving equations, right? Our whole goal is to be problem solvers. But at some point, some of the things that we're looking to create and bring into a physical, tangible reality, we don't have the capacity that the woman has, because by nature she is material. And this is why you plant the vision of the seed within her, and it is a spark You know what I mean? And she has the ability to bring that into something physical. And so on the hero's journey, the ups, the downs, the trials, the tribulations, when you get to a point where you recognize the importance of who a woman could be in your life, can make or break you. And that's a lot of the problems we're having. And I don't even know if it's deliberate, but you need freedom and you need space as a creator. And so when I found Mama Dot, she provided space for me to create, for me to think, for me to problem solve. And then when I got stuck in certain aspects, or I wanted to bring something from the astral realm, let's say, into a physical existence, like a book, you know what I mean? This exists in my mind, but how do I tangibly bring it into existence? She had all the faculties and ability to do that. Now, when you're dealing with women, what I've known, you know, I've been with Mama Dot 29 years, and I was with Malcolm's mom for about 9. And so is that you have to allow a vulnerable space. Now, the vulnerable space is not to be taken advantage of. It is me placing something sacred within your space that I need you to guard, because I need to be vulnerable in these other areas to help me create and do what I do. And so when Mama Dot is watching me work, she's tickled because I've already ran it by her, right? But I didn't run it by her in the space that I'm going to perform this knowledge. I've just ran some ideas by, I think I'm going to cover this, I think I'm going to cover that, blah, 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 blah. And then she's watching me operate a lot of times off spirit, because I'll create a template in my mind and spirit takes over the rest. That's why I don't do a lot of PowerPoint presentations. I don't really have to.
Right.
Because I'm looking to just be the vessel, but I want to have my, you know, my point, so I don't lose my place or my marker. And so she's watching because she saw the uncooked, you know what I'm saying, version of what I was going to do. And then when she see it all cooked up, she's like, well, goddamn, he pulled that off. How did he pull that off? And so to me, you have to have respect for each other. And there has to be an understanding of our roles and that we don't cross over each other, but, you know, we respect each other's space. And for me, again, I have to view you as a friend. I'm a 9-year-old kid. And if you're not goofy and stupid and silly, but deep and intricate and wise, you got to be all of that. And for Virgo, I want you close, but not that close.
Right.
I want you far away, but be close enough that I need you. So by the time she figured it out, it took about 6 or 7 years. When she figured it out, she got it. And then we were able to maintain that over the course of, you know, and on the hero's journey, there are going to be ups and downs. So we don't always agree. There's going to be times when, you know, we're not as romantically in tune as we would like to be. There will be times when she's focused on certain aspects and can't be there for me. There'll be times when I'm involved with things. And so, but that's the ebb and flow of the hero's journey.
Definitely. Yeah. I think right now, you know, we're under attack as far as, you know, these manosphere, womensphere, you know, and it's an old divide and conquer tactic to kind of weaken us, soften us up, and, you know, try to set us up for what's going down or what they're trying, you know, the so-called powers that be were trying, because we're stronger, like in the movie Soul Food, right? Big Mom was talking about the fist, right?
Yes.
The family, and we're stronger together. And all wealth is really built on family, even if on a financial, tangible level. The Walmart family, the Walgreens family, the Chase family, you know, these are all families that have come together to produce something that lasts often beyond them, you know?
And let me add something to that. If I had dating in this day and time, I would be totally lost. You know what I mean? Because the rules of engagement have changed.
Yes.
Remember, there was no social media when me and Mama, so we had to be in each other's presence. You know what I'm saying? We had to make now I can project who I think you want me to be here. And it's so many, and then with the this influence, this social media stuff is dangerous. We've already been in a situation where thought is held captive, you know what I mean, through sports, entertainment, and distraction. And now we are volunteering the energy that comes from thought into a database, you know what I mean, that's becoming God-like based on the information we continue to input into it. And now the women have a different mandate. They don't need men, or they think they don't need men. And the men are looking at women as schemers and hustlers. But when all the smoke clears, as you said, it has to boil back down to family. When I'm speaking of legacy, I'm not speaking of money per se. I'm speaking of true legacy, which is our history, our dominance, our presence in each other's life is legacy. You know what I mean? The money will come as a result of that. And so I think sometimes we put the cart in front of the horse. You listen to a lot of these online gurus, and they think money is the key to it. But if I leave my great grandson money, by the time he gets to his understanding of money, money might not be worth shit to him.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is this? Why would grandpa leave me this? And he didn't leave me no blueprint on who I am or who he was or any of that stuff. See, we thinking money. Money is an agreement. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing but energy. But what about when the next generation comes about and, like in the movie Joker, he just burning. I'm just burning my half, nigga, because I see you motherfuckers is crazy over this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this means absolutely nothing. When that happens, this matrix as we see it will shift, because I feel we're coming into a time when young people are gonna go, so all they did was manipulate my ancestors for 30 pieces of silver, and my ancestors sold us all out. I won't be that one. You know what I mean?
Powerful.
And it makes you revisit what Kanye West was doing when he stood up in front of everybody by himself and said, the price of my freedom is going to be for me to give all of this back to you. You know what I mean? Y'all can take it. Y'all can unrank me and all of that old kind of stuff. And I'm still going to be here. And he had nobody standing behind him because corporations rule everything around me. Cream.
Yeah.
And you see it in the Diddy case. You know what I mean? Which I'll get into tomorrow. I'm doing a pay-per-view piece on that. But everybody is ruled in this realm, it seems, by money. Now, let me add, and I won't go on a tangent too often. I want to say this.
It's your space. I'm just hosting.
What we're doing is we're going to have to realize the chosen ones, or whatever you want to call them, sometimes that bright light is not for you. You're here to do a work within a specific frequency bandwidth that's not for everybody. And when you lose that trying to level up per se, you lose the potency of your frequency. Do your work. I don't care if you got 12 followers. You know what I mean? Do your work if this is what you claim you're here to do. You know what I mean? Certain one of us, when they can't see me half the time, God. And I said that on my podcast and people scratch their head. I'm not meant to be seen by everybody. This is why I can put out books. I can do anything I want to do because I stay within a certain space. Now, that doesn't mean you can't grow. I don't want people to take that literally. But when you have protection, your authenticity is your protection. Your intent is your protection. And when you go outside of those realms, trying to be the biggest or the greatest, and that's a vibratory frequency that belongs to somebody else, you lose your protection, and then all bets is off. I am the black dot. I'm a hidden behind some ish. You ain't, if you don't see me, you're not supposed to see me. And that's why I can put out a book called Hip Hop Decoded, which is probably the greatest book ever written on the subject. And if you don't know about it, you're not supposed to know about it. I've walked in and out of places, and these people have no idea who I am. I've mixed with these rappers. They can't see me because I'm not on their bandwidth and on their frequency. Those who can see me, I appreciate it. I shine bright for those who can see me. Those who can see you, Ra, they appreciate it because you shine bright. You have your mission, and you know, and so be careful, because fame is the devil's vibration, not fortune. Fortune could be attained. Fame is the devil's vibration. And when you get on their frequency, you become disoriented and you lose the sense of self. And then you find yourself in compromising situations that you can't get out of.
Yeah, I've seen it happen to a lot of the greats that have passed through this YouTube thing. You know, no names being said, but
yes,
we know who they are. People that have had fame, and then, you know, I've said this before in one of my past videos. You know, a lot of times when these gentlemen get a certain amount of fame and recognition, it's not something that they've had in their lives. You know, they haven't had that type of recognition from their women. They've talked down to them, or the moms, you know, aunties. They haven't had that type of recognition at the workplace, at their jobs and their careers, you know. So when they acquire this knowledge and then they're able to articulate it well, and they're charismatic, because I believe all of us that are from the hood have some sort of charisma, because that's how we survive, right? You cannot survive harsh urban environments or wherever you come from, the trail or whatever, without having some sort of charisma. You will get crushed, right, by the masses who are asses. So in order for a person to really come into who they truly are, they have to come into a place of non-attachment. And ego is attachment. When you're attached to this world, when you're tethered to what people say about you, how people feel about you. And a lot of times they'll get so arrogant, and it's all of them. And y'all could quote me and research this, all of them that have fallen. One of the things they've always said is that the police can't touch me. The police can't get me because I'm God. And literally months after, maybe in less than 6 months, they get swept away, right? So I definitely appreciate the admonishment. Yeah, but you know, like Jay-Z said, I seen the same thing happen to Kane. 3 cuts in your eyeballs, trying to wild out. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Next question. So I don't know how much you know about this, but a little bit. Just want to talk about a little bit, and then we'll get into the book. So Trump passed this bill, right? I call it the big horrible bill. But it's affecting a lot of things. I'm seeing a lot of people from other cultures, and particularly Caucasians, panicking. You know, they're looking like they're about to go into slavery, right? Like they're about to get roped up. And, you know, it's because welfare, he's impacting welfare benefits for people, where you're going to have to start voluntarily, right? Working for the benefits. It's impacting Section 8. It's impacting Medicaid. Even I just saw something before this where somebody was talking about the Kennedy Center, right? The arts, where they gutted the board of the Kennedy Center, and and gutted the board, right? Which according to the person, it's a bipartisan board, right? And basically made Trump the head of it and implanted all his people in the board. So they're controlling the arts. So we're definitely headed into fascism if we don't do anything, right? What do you think about what's going on with that situation, and what advice would you give us to maintain during this climb? Because we're going from the age of Pisces into the Aquarius. A lot of people think it's the actual last days. Again, like fireballs are coming, and only 44,000 people going to get swept up, and the rest you know what I'm saying? But those of us that are wise enough to know that that's just a metaphor, right? Number 9 for creation, rebirth, right? And transforming yourself. And in your time period, you'll be that 144 symbolically if you are doing the work. What would you say to someone or to us, you know, about maintaining during this time, and, you know, not getting caught up in the media frenzy of fear.
Another great question, King. And I've often said that birth is violent. And so the birth of a new way of life is not gonna, people are not gonna take this, especially the comfortable, dormant people. Everything must move, right? And so when you start talking about food stamps and Section 8, a lot of people don't realize that that is an attack on Caucasian people more than it is us. But we don't see that because the media has you think that we're the only ones. No, they outnumber us for food stamps and public housing. And a certain people who come here, you know what I'm saying, with the squiggly squigs, they are all on public assistance.
Yes.
They are all on food stamps.
Yes.
They are, because they understand that none of it's real. It's a system here to take advantage of. Moving into a new paradigm, it has to take place whether it's Trump or somebody else. Now, what I mean by that is this. I've had people tell me, well, this is who y'all voted in. This is what I say to that. If I have the power to change the world, you think your vote is going to stop that? Like, man, I was going to take over the world, man, but I got voted out. That means you're not using common sense. So what is happening is meant to happen, but if you are not prepared for it, you are going to suffer. And Section 8 became very dormant for our people. When you have 3 generations on Section 8 or 3 generations on food stamps or 3, what you have done is you parked yourself in a reality that no longer exists anymore. It's like going from analog to digital, right? A lot of us fought that. A lot of people, I don't want to, but guess what? In order to keep up with the paradigm shift, you had to incorporate digital aspects into your life, physically and metaphorically speaking. Now we're going from digital to AI, you know what I mean? And so you have to just be aware, but in doing so, they're going to move the money system. They're going to move your awareness to what this is. And in order for this reality as we know it to shift, it requires a certain amount of people to be on board mentally to understand what's going on. Mentally, we can shift this. Now, with that being said, this may sound bizarre, but I may not exist in the realm that you exist. We cross paths from time to time based on our understanding of things. When you change your perception and mindset, you enter into a new reality. So stop thinking a new world is a physical place that you are going to be to. Every time you shed something, if you're an alcoholic and all of a sudden you go cold turkey and you shed all alcohol and everything connected to it, watch how the people that used to be there no longer exist. The clubs you used to go to, they no longer exist. The things that used to tempt you, they no longer exist. And what you have done, you have moved into a new reality where now you're in sync with those who kind of see things within your realm. You still can exist in multiple realms. Trump is just a vessel, you know what I'm saying, the one who came to blow the trumpet. And whether you see him as good or not, that's your personal perspective. What you know as reality is going to change in the next 5 years. Now, if you are not mentally prepared to deal with it, guess what? You get left behind. That's all. You see the YNs, they wilding out. I'm watching people on YouTube. It's a certain bunch of people now who are just wilding out every day because they feel the change coming, but they're not ready to adjust. They want to hold on to this, you know what I mean? And so it's like a noise that you can subconsciously hear that irritates you. You know what I mean? Like the dog can hear the noise, but you can't. So this is a part of our generation, not just black people or so-called black people, white people, they're just all wilding out. Those are the ones who are not ready to just make the shift. those of us who are aware, we don't have to have all the answers. We are aware that something is changing around us. And just by our awareness, our reality is being prepared for us. So yes, there's going to be sweeping change. You know what I mean? And some people ain't gonna make it. Some people are. No different than when the crack era came through, right? It was like a war zone, right?
Yeah.
And the ones of us who were aware of it, and we just rose above it. You know what I mean? And we helped move this thing on. So these YNs and crash outs, they're in their final moments of realizing that something is changing here. You mean I gotta get up and earn a living? You know what I mean? I gotta get up and provide. That should be the basics of your necessities.
Yeah.
Right? And so when we start looking at why the children come out acting a certain way, it's all connected. So don't worry if you have mentally prepared yourself and are aware that none of it is real anyway. You know what I mean? He's going to come through. He's going to do what he's supposed to do. You know what I mean? And I give a quick story and then we can move on. I worked for the transit system, New York City, 18, 19 years. And we used to give out the paper transfers. The blue going one way, the orange going the other. And then one day, in one weekend, they changed the machine over and said, we're going digital. And us operators, we lost our mind because we know how slow the public is, man. We know this is going to be a shift for them. Lord, in one weekend, everybody was on board. Everybody knew how to put that damn thing in. Now, it was a few goofies,
Right.
And I use that as an analogy to say, when they want to switch a system over, they do it. When they stop saying, when this Bitcoin thing go, whatever the government gonna do, you're gonna have to adjust.
You're gonna have to.
You're gonna have to, or you're gonna get left behind.
And it's coming sooner than people think.
And it's coming sooner than people think. And it's connected to this big, horrible bill. They're trying to weed out those who just not gonna make it. They're just gonna be cannon fodder. And they're trying to prepare those for the next paradigm. This next paradigm could be interstate, interplanetary travel, all kind of underground railroads, money system that's based on who you are. It's going to be, and everybody's not ready for that. So that's
social credit kind of
social crediting. You know what I mean? And those who are stuck in what is now the Flintstonian age, right?
I like that.
They're just going to have to wait until the next cycle because it's a wave, it's a cycle. We come through and we collect the ones who are ready, and it'll swing back around 2,942 years, whatever, swing up the next few people. And so that's my take. So if you are prepared, don't worry about it. I want to know about the unknown. You studied to know. We have been here through everything you can possibly think of, and we're still here. So that gives me hope that if you are prepared, you'll make it. Some of us are just going to be ready to transition. Ain't got nothing to do with you being a low vibratory frequency. You just are not aligned for this fight. And that's cool too. Look how many elders we lost during the COVID.
Yeah.
We lost
right before COVID.
Right before COVID.
Delbert Blair.
A lot of them.
Francis Cress, a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Africa, a lot of them.
Dr. Africa, that's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them in that whole sweep. And these were noble men and women. But they have done their job. They positioned us to be the ones to pick up the baton and carry on the fight. The work that we do is not for everybody. The minute I learned that, God, I resided in a very comfortable space. Forget off. Every time I hear somebody telling me, I'm here to wake everybody up, you just burning off energy. You know what I mean? And your egos, and that's not your job here. Do your work and I'm going to do my work. And when everyone is in their space doing their work, then the work is done. You know, anybody getting on these platforms telling you they have the ultimate key to change this and that and follow me and bro, run right,
fast.
run fast.
Fast.
We are and the Diddy situation is even taking knuckle draggers and showing them ain't none of it real. We make these people, we break these people. You know what I mean? And so that I'm a celebrity. No one cares about that anymore.
No one cares.
No one cares. So what? You a celebrity?
Right.
Beat it, buddy. You know what I mean? And so that would be my answer to that, particular question.
Great answer. I always say the greatest spiritual protection is a high vibrational body. Meaning if you're taking, eating a certain way, but more importantly, thinking a certain way and feeling a certain way, right? Because we have a trinity within us, the gut, right, which powers the soul. We have the heart, which powers the spirit, and we have the brain, which determines which way we're going to go with both, right? So, because we come in through the mother's womb, which is the gut, right? So there's a lot of gut powers that we don't even realize we have that ties to our intuitive abilities, right? But when it comes to this fight, it's very, like you said, everybody's not going to make it because everybody's not supposed to. And that doesn't mean that you're, like you said, a bad person or whatever that means, right? It means that it's just not the time for you. And you, when Dr. Africa left, I was like, wow, he left right before the pandemic when people needed him the most. But he left the document. He left the blueprint. He left the codex.
Yes, he left the codex.
So if you want to get and learn what he gave, then don't worship the man. Take the man's teachings and embody it. So you could teach your children, you could teach people in your neighborhood, you could teach the knuckle draggers in your family, and maybe give them some more time to live and move on. But don't worry about following the man. He already left the blueprint, the document. Frances Cress Welsing, she already left the ISIS papers for you.
Yes.
So you can understand the psychology of this matrix and how to move in it and recognize the signs and symbols, right? Some of the phallic symbols and the feminine symbols that they use to manipulate you and cast spells that bypass your conscious mind and stimulate your subconscious without you even knowing it, right?
Yes.
So very, very, very important time.
And to add to that, intention. When you understand what your purpose here, not even organ failure can stop you. You understand? And because that's just a mechanism of an avatar that is here to shell or house the work that needs to be done. And that's what I be trying to tell people. Don't think your purpose here is far greater than what you think it is. Once you in tune and know what it is, you are protected beyond your wildest dreams until the mission is done. And then you gladly accept the responsibility of your cause and effect of whatever that reality is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And so that's why I feel immortal after time, Lord. I really do.
Too,
and it's not ego.
I got that energy off you when I met you.
Yeah, it's I'm immortal. You know what I mean? Until the time comes where, as all masters do, you ascend. You know what I mean? You shed the shell, the body, and now you're ready for what is next. Yes. But until then, I keep my head down, I do my work. I stay out of people's way, I mind my business. You know what I mean? Purposely do what I have to do until that time comes, okay?
I was talking to my sister today, Dot, and she showed me a picture, and I know it's again in the book, but this kind of sparked something. She showed me a video of a chicken, and she was like in the airport, right? She's in the Cayman Islands. Mm-hmm. So she was like, these chickens, they don't even fly, right? And I was like, they fly when they're scared, you know what I'm saying? But they don't fly before that. And I was telling her, and it just came to me like, that's like most people. Like, people have wings, right? Literally, we all have wings. We all have archangels, ancestors behind us, bloodlines behind us. We all have ways to access that. And we'll lead into that book with your grandma and all that, right? But we all have ways to access the powers within us, right? But are we going to be chickens, right? And live the comfortable life in the coop and take the feed and You know what I'm saying? Have
don't start no trouble.
ready
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
slaughter. And just be taken care of and get fat. I remember when I went to Antigua, to my grandmother's house, and there's chickens all over. And it was the first time I ever like saw a chicken not from the store that got
Right.
from the root. You know what I'm saying? And my grandmother's like, yeah, snap his neck. I'm young.
Yeah,
I'm 7,
that's what
8.
my grandmother did too. Yep.
Yeah. She's like, yes. What are we gonna eat tonight? You know what I'm saying? If you don't snap the neck, said it in her accent, but she was like forcing me to do it. And I was like tears, but I snapped that motherfucker
quick.
And we ate, we ate that chicken. Defense and all that, took longer, obviously, to cook it and all that, took hours. But that chicken, man, the taste of that chicken, I can still remember to this day.
Yes.
Doc.
Totally different. Totally different.
Totally.
Same thing with my grandmother. Go in the backyard, get one, snap his neck, or pop that neck, and he start running around with no head and shit, like for a few, until he realized, oh shit, yeah, it's over. You know what I mean? And she would cook it, and you could literally taste what that was like. Totally different time. When we grew our own vegetables, and my grandmother kept preservatives in the mason jar and all of those things, and what the food tastes like, and the food was connected to your memories and all the things, and we just don't have. We're in an artificial. We're on a grid, and then this shit is. We're on a grid, bro.
Yeah.
And because I don't even know how they said McDonald's is pumping out 165 million burgers a week. I'm like, we're on these cows. And that's a conversation for another day. And that's just McDonald's.
Right.
Forget about the rest of them. You know what I mean?
Remember there was this mad cow scare, Doc, when they had, and I posted that on Facebook. I was like, where they getting all these chickens then? If the chickens are bad and cows are bad, where they getting all this? I ain't never see a Jack in the Box. I ain't see a Chick-fil-A clothes. I ain't see a Popeyes clothes, nothing.
And so we understand once they removed or got us in assimilation, disoriented by the water, the music, the visuals, all the shots and all of that stuff. Now, what you think you taste in assimilation, what the hell food is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And your brain is tricking you. That's why everything tastes like chicken or whatever the case may be. And no one, it's just basic math. How, Sway? How is there 15 different fast food chains and they never run out of food?
Never.
So,
Very interesting. Dot, let's go into the book a little bit. So in the book, there are, let's talk to this. The title that you have in the book, it basically speaks to like having joy in the midst of hardship. You talk about when you were younger and how you like, even though you went through what you went through, and I'll let you expound on that you were still bright, you still did well in school, you still were able to do and master a lot of things, even though you were under a heavy, I'm going to say a heavy stress load, right? Heavy flight, which you expounded on in the book from what I read, heavy fight or flight environment, which a lot of us come up with. What personal or ancestral moment inspired you to bring that? Oh, shit.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Doc. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I just gotta find you. All right, here you go. Sorry about that. I clicked Windows. All right. Yeah. What inspired you to create, or what moment, or what personal or ancestral moment inspired you to bring forth that message in the book of joy and hardship?
Well, gotta laugh to keep from crying. Why so serious? All right. In this day and time, today is the 7th. Yes.
Yes.
Sirius is still rising, right?
6.
So
the
6. Oh yeah. So We use laughter is a mechanism that we've all learned to use from plantation days and beyond. It's because it just provides us solace. And so beating the drum, and these slave masters are confused, like, why are they beating the drum and celebrating after what we've done to them? It truly allows us to escape a physical reality, even if it's for a suspended period of time. And so all that I had endured as a young man and a young child, I found laughter as a way to keep people off me so they wouldn't really examine what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way I got girls because I didn't have the dopest outfits. It's the way in the hood we protected ourselves from each other because, you know, the brothers in the hood and the sisters in the hood would start snapping. And the better I was at it, enabled me to create this force field around me. But it also brought me, you know, a sense of joy. And so my mom used to say that all the time. You got to laugh to keep them crying, Duane, and this, that, and that. And so in venerating her as well, it became a slogan that just stayed with me. You know what I mean? And then when I looked out at my life as children, we didn't realize we was poor as people think so, because we all shared everything we had. We split pizza down the middle. We did quarter waters. We played Scarcity. You know, everything we did as a collective. Sure, there were one or two families who may have had a little more than this and that, but I went to the neighbor's house with a note. You know what I'm saying? Like Ghostface said, you know what I'm saying? Gloria, you know, can I borrow some food? I'm dead broke. You know, we did those things on a regular basis, but the community had more unity to it, and we all looked out for each other. I didn't realize I was poor until the rappers started telling me I was poor. Then I realized this was a PSYOP operation to, you know what I mean? And so gotta laugh to keep from crying just became my slogan. Doesn't mean I don't cry. I do cry. You know what I mean? But the laughter part, and if I can share laughter with you and absorb some of your pain, that's why I do what I do on my podcast. You know what I mean? To kind of give you a moment to tune in, and because my shoulders are broad enough to take your pain from you for a few minutes with this laughter. And when I started studying comedians, I realized they all pretty much have the same story. You know what I mean? They've all been through some trauma and some pain, and this is their way of dealing with it. You know what I mean? And so that's why I chose that. And the subtitle was just, I didn't start living until I thought I was dying.
Yeah, that was my next question. Yeah,
well, that comes into play with, you know, so many times you get these diagnoses from these doctors who say, yo, you got 6 months to live. And within that 6 months, sometimes it's the best 6 months you've ever had. And it winds up turning into 3 or 4 years because everything matters. The air you breathe start mattering. Mattering. The people you meet, your loved ones, you want to apologize. You want to make up. You want to do all of these things. Well, the key to that is if you can do those things on an everyday basis, you have freed yourself to where life becomes truly, truly beautiful for you. But we be on such autopilot that we miss out on why we're here. We're not here to work a job. We're not here to do we do those things to provide food, clothing, and shelter, sure. But our purpose here is far greater than that. And so when I got the diagnosis that, dude, your kidneys have failed, man. There's nothing else we can do for you. And the average person on dialysis, 2-3 years, if you're lucky, if you don't get a kidney. And so it was weird. I started saying yes to things I normally said no to, like the movie Yes Man. You know what I mean? With Jim Carrey, I just didn't go that extreme with it, but I started saying yes to cookouts. I started saying, yes, I'll go to that recital. I started saying, yes, I will apologize. I started saying, yes, I'm going to call my man who I ain't spoke to in a long time to just talk to him. I started smelling the grass again. I started feeling the wind, no exaggeration. everything slowed down to the point I just started enjoying it. And when I did that, a burden was lifted off my shoulder. And so that's why I can come on these podcasts, you know, on my show and talk anything I want to talk, experience anything I want to experience, because I'm playing technically with house money. And so the fear of losing that was gone, and I started coming into my own. And that's when I wrote Hip Hop Decoded. And that's when I got married. And that's when I put the kids through college. And that's when I wrote Urban Culture Decoded. And that's when I dropped the album. And that's when I started touring the world, speaking to people. And that's when all of these things, and purchase a home. And all of these things in the last 20 years, the resume of things that I had accomplished, I hadn't accomplished in the 40 years before that, or the 37 years before that, because I had a job, I was on autopilot, I just didn't want to ruffle no feathers, I'm in the matrix, I'm doing this and that, but you're here for a greater purpose. And so Phil Valentine, I did a reading with him once, and he just told me, your mind, you're on the bus, but your mind is resenting your body, because your mind is experiencing life on a grand scale, but you're stagnant in your physicality doing something that you pretty much can do with your eyes closed. And so the separation became between mind and body, which created agitation, which forced things to go bad. You know what I'm saying? And so when you get back in alignment and say, man, F that job, man. I walked away, F that job, man. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then I started just doing amazing things. Griff started bringing me around the country to speak to people, and I was coming into my own. I sat at the foot of the elders for so long, and now I was coming into my own. I had found my purpose, along with what my grandmother had taught me years and years before. And in doing that, I am the most powerful I ever was at this point. It's because I started living when I thought I was dying, and the universe began to open up every door possible to me. Now I'm a granddad. Go figure.
Yeah.
I never thought I would see the day. And now I'm a granddad, you know?
Yeah, I just became a granddad myself.
Congrats. It's special, bro. That granddad shit hit different.
It hit different.
You know, to see yourself replicated and then replicated, bro, it's like, and that's what legacy is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being able to sit down with your grandbaby and get into their world, not your world, their world. So yeah, I want to sit on the floor and figure out why this truck is fascinating you. You know what I mean? Or this and that. And that adds youthfulness to you, and you begin to appreciate what life has to offer, because life has a lot to offer. When I see these angry dudes always, fuck the white man, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. But it's so much within those spaces that you are missing. You know what I mean? And then you're going to realize that these problems that are here have always been here. And they're going to continue to be here. And you ain't seen your kids in 15 years because you fighting the devil or whatever that may be. And you've missed out on some amazing relationships, and you've missed out on some amazing moments. I won't do it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can't do
You won't go to the barbecue. You won't go to the celebration. You won't go to the family reunion.
I'm at all of it.
Because of that, because you won't go to
Christmas. Because of what people think. Yeah, we've all
been there. That's part of the journey. Right.
That's a part of the initiation stage when you first come into awareness, you know, and then you realize, no, this is about relationships. This is about love and all of that stuff. I ain't missed an event since. I'll be at the event talking mad shit, playing spades and shit and talking shit. And so life has been great in that sense.
Yeah, it's much better. It's much better too. Like when you take yourself away from all the chaos in the world and all the conspiracy and all the, this is what they're doing to me, and this is the ritual they're running, and this is what I mean, it's cool to identify it. Don't get me wrong. Like I identify it and I recognize it, and I see certain spells being passed and things like that. Like I'm gonna do a video because they got a big high level spell right in Manhattan, Federal Hall, Trinity Church right now, running against women right now. that
Wow.
people, if you look at it, you won't even, if you just a knuckle drag, as you say, Doc, you won't even see it.
You won't even see it.
You won't even see it.
And what
And
I
you look
noticed
at it with
is,
2 eyes.
yeah, when I came out of the church or the party, I was still as conscious as I was when I went in.
Yeah.
These niggas act like you're gonna lose your no, you can't lose that. That's me. I can go in anywhere with an understanding of who I am and enjoy myself, and then come out of that and still have to, like when I go to the movies now, I can't turn it off. I see what the movie is conveying.
Right.
Doesn't mean I can't eat my popcorn and enjoy that car chase that's in there to distract you from what's going on. I'm with it all.
Yeah.
I am all of that and then some.
Well, if we're maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe, it doesn't say God of just the good shit. It doesn't say God of not the turn up. It doesn't
and
say
it doesn't say God of just Earth.
Right.
It said the universe.
That's everything.
Everything in it.
Everything in it, right? That, let's talk about one of the subtitles in this video is poverty alchemy. Because a lot of times when people, you know, and even with me, like I'm going through a situation which I'll reveal later, but not a great, excellent, amazing situation. I think I discussed it with you. And it's freed up my mind, it's freed up my spirit, it's freed my soul. It's given me time to clear my head. And, you know, and then I struck gold, you know what I'm saying? Right after the situation happened, I struck gold.
How about
financially,
that?
You know what I'm saying? And it was like the universe was like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about no fiat. Fiat's gonna be there.
That's gonna be there. Yes.
Live the way and be a vessel which you're called to be.
Yes.
Live the vessel you're called to be and break through and face whatever you gotta face with your chest up, your chin up, and your voice loud. Right. So that's how I'm moving nowadays. But I noticed that when I'm on this path and I'm really like living according to my dictates and my mandates the spirit gave me, because we all have different mandates. That's my opinion, my perspective, right? Depending on what you're here to do. And when I go according to my mandates, I noticed that poverty and money is not a thing. Talk to me about poverty alchemy. We talked about, you know, how people look at money, but talk to me about the alchemy of poverty and your perspective while you left, you know, because that's a big step for a man to leave.
Yes.
Because, you know, city jobs in New York, you can't tell a motherfucker with a city job that they ain't God on earth.
You can't tell them anything, right? You're absolutely correct. Poverty alchemy created hip hop. You know what I mean? The absence of resources, the absence of so much, all we did was manifest what it is that we were going to need. Once you understand that the universe is always going to provide, however, you have to have the mindset to understand this. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know half the time if I got $10 in my pocket or $10,000. My mood does not change regarding, but what my wife learned to understand is hanging out with me, you're never going to need. The universe continues to provide. If you lack or have and poverty alchemy is simply meaning we can be resourceful out of the things you least expect us to be resourceful out of. You know, on the corner with oranges, you know what I mean? And have picked themselves up. We have turned so much because we study and know. During the COVID situation, do you see what we created in terms of people manifesting what it is? The barter system is so much that goes on. The universe is abundant and it's attempting to give us all that we want. You know what I mean? And when we no longer worry about it, I may not know the means by which the currency will arrive, but it will arrive. You know what I'm saying? Me and my wife has been down on our last luck and we're going through a drawer and find a card that somebody gave us, a random card, and it wasn't nothing special. We opened a card, it's $100 bill in the card. You know what I mean? And we was able to go food shopping and you know what I mean? And so the universe continues to provide for those who understand how to manipulate the universe in their favor. I'm not going to say hate. I don't like being around people with a lack mentality.
Me
You know
either.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Even hoarding the money that they have, not understanding that it is currency.
Yes.
It has to flow.
It's
And
gotta
it is
circulate.
it has to circulate. So we give our last to people at times. I've given my last, not worrying about what's going to come back around, because it always comes back around. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's service to others and service to self. The ones who operate under service to self, their goal is to accumulate as much money as they can at all cost. You know what I mean? And that leads them into a vibratory frequency of doing whatever they got to do to get, and then there are service to others who go, I need the money for this. But if you need the money, and they did a survey and realized so-called poor people were much giving than the rich people. You know what I mean? They found that if you go to a homeless person on the street and be like, yo, man, I ain't really, they will reach in their pocket and give you what they have because they understand what it's like and they continue to be blessed. And so, you know what I'm saying? Poverty alchemy to me is our ability to make something out of nothing without worrying about the means by which those things will arrive. You know what I'm saying? If all is mental, all I need to do is match the vibration of what it is that I need. You know what I mean? And the universe is going to conspire in some kind of way, as long as I don't place anchors of negative thought along the way, which slows the vibratory rate down where it doesn't come when you thought it was going to come. Because just think at the people who never have. There are people who they're always down on their rent, but they never had, and it never dawned on them that it was their feeling, what they were emoting, you know what I'm saying, was not taking advantage of what the universe was trying to offer.
Yeah, you talk about your mom in the book and how she was always, even though she was an addict, right? She was always making something out of nothing. Where you would eat dinner, but sometimes you didn't eat. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times you did eat, right?
Yes.
But she would still find a way with the
Yes.
schemes and making sure you had a place to live with the one-shot deals. And she was an alchemist, right? Even in the midst of poverty, she still found a way to survive. And a lot of us are alchemists, but we don't value that, right? We don't value our survival skills, where somebody could be on the upper echelon, right? Like I'm sure, a child of, let's say a congressman or a president, that if they had to come through our level or live in the Bronx in the 70s, their whole egg would crack.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Right?
Yes.
Their whole egg would crack. They wouldn't know how to handle it. They would probably jump off one of the abandoned buildings.
That's why when the stock market crashes in the 30s, a lot of them chose to jump off a building because they didn't have survival mechanisms. And you know what I'm saying? They didn't have a barter system in place. We all want to see each other, come up together. They lacked all of that. And so when Tupac made the song Dear Mama, listen to the words, and he's saying what his mother had to go to, what she had to endure just to make sure he had. That's an ability that our mothers have that no one else had. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot of men who will bail out on that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Rather go stand on the corner. And so these mothers are built from something different. And my mother, through all she went through, was built differently. You know what I mean? And always provided hope in me that something is going to come our way to first of all, she was a junkie.
Right.
So she got to get high every day. People don't understand a crackhead has the ability to manifest crack every day. That is a drawing power. You might not like how they do it. The motherfuckers take my mirrors.
Right.
$20.
Side mirror before.
Oh, right?
So I was going to a party and if I was like, yo, my side mirror gone, man. And then I went down the block on Webster.
I had to buy something.
Jerome, and lo and behold, it's right there.
We happen to have them in stock, sir.
Right.
I bet you do, motherfucker. Right. My daughter, I bought a brand new car. It was spanking. And, I let her run up ahead. I said, let's go for a ride. And she got up to the car and said, Dad, your new car don't come with mirrors? I said, oh, before I even got to the damn car, I said, don't tell me. She said, Daddy, no mirrors here. Talk about being pissed. And so, but they manifest what they need every day. They just may not see it as a magical attribute that they have. Hookers, they're going to get their money. Crackheads going to get their money. Dope fiends going to get their money. Gamblers find a way to win. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a attribute that is built within them, but being aware of it allows you to access that power to do something greater for yourself. But don't sleep on a crackhead. They wake up every morning, I need $80 today. I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I'm going to get it.
And they
you know what I mean? And they get it.
And a lot of times they got a partner with them too.
Absolutely.
That loyal.
Loyal.
You know, as loyal as you could be.
We're going to get this.
Yeah. That. So you talked about your grand awakening into hip hop, where, and I got one more question, and we'll wrap it up. You talked about your grand awakening into hip hop in the book, and you talked about going to Cedar Street.
Cedar Park.
Cedar Park. Sorry, Cedar Street's in Manhattan, but Cedar Park. And Cedar Park, where you first saw Kool Herc as a little kid, and how it just awakened you, and you saw him as a god. Talk to me about that, because the interesting thing about Cedar, for me, understanding roots and thing, in Native American and even our indigenous African diaspora cultures, cedar, tobacco, sweetgrass, these are things that they bundle together, right? And sage, in order to smudge, right? In order to protect, in order to cleanse, right? And you were there on Cedar Street. Cedar also is great for meditation, for those who don't know, right? If you burn some cedar, it'll put you into a meditative trance, right? It'll relax you and calm you, right? Put it in a candle. So, and you can also do other things with cedar as far as spiritually protecting yourself, right? Which is another aspect of the sage, and why they use those bundles with cedar in it. And also in Manhattan, which is why I said Cedar Street, this is how they reverse the alchemy, right? They have a big red cube right in Manhattan on Cedar Street, a Saturnian cube, right? So trap and collapse and keep that financial matrix active on Cedar Street with a compass right across the street, an upside down compass as an art installation, right? Both red, root chakra, right? So talk to me about Cedar Street, Kool Herc, that the transformation, because I believe that was also alchemy in progress, right?
It was a lot of alchemy in progress.
Well, Cedar Park, I should say.
Yeah, and I'm going to steal all of that you just said and put it in the next book.
Okay.
That's how we do. You know what I mean?
It's in mine coming up too, but you got.
No. Then
no. Take it.
No, as long, because I'm not writing nothing lately. As long as it's in the diaspora, so people can understand that magic. When we speak about everything we do is magical in some sense. So me going to Cedar Park after watching the old guys on the block tell these stories, right? And so think about a young kid in the village, and they got this boom box out, and they're listening to these tapes of these individuals, and they're having these arguments over who's better, who's that, and it becomes legendary to a young kid who never experienced it. It becomes, they're telling a mythos story of Chief Rocker Busy Bee and the Fantastic Five. And I'm like, damn, who the hell are the Fantastic Five? You know what I mean? But you can hear these tapes and the Funky Four, plus one. And then there's Kool Herc and the Herculoids. I'm like, holy shit, Kool Herc and the Herculoids. And you know what I mean? And so for a whole summer, I got to hear the older guys on the block who were the elders create these mythological stories about these individuals, had this new form of music that nobody, was still close to their best, so to speak. And so when I turned 9 years old and I'm sitting out there playing Skelsies, and the older guys, I heard them say, yo, we going to Cedar Park. And my ear went up. I was like, Cedar Park. And I remember what my mother said. She said, Duane, you don't leave this block If you leave this block, you're getting your ass whipped. And I had to make a decision. I'm like, Cedar Park to see the legendary Kool Herc in person, that's a chance I gotta take. And so Cedar Park, from where I was living currently at the time, was 5 long blocks. By the time you got to block 3, you could hear his system. And it's rocking. And you can hear the echo chamber. Kool Herc and the Hercoloid. Lord. DJ JC and Imperial JC seats. And as I got to the park, euphoria. You know, it was everything that I thought it was going to be. Now, remember, I'm talking about from a 9-year-old kid's perspective. When I looked at Kool Herc, he looked like he was 9 feet tall. He had his big ass fedora on with his glasses. And, you know, brothers, you could smell the weed in the park. And I got right up to the front and saw something I had never saw. 2 turntables, and this guy is doing some magic on these turntables. And for me, like you said, in that spiritual space, and the way it's Cedar and Cedric, it's like on a crossroad, you know what I mean? And the energy in that park was magical. And I went home, and all I wanted to do for the rest of my life was that, which I saw. You know what I'm saying? Now, flashback 30 years, when I got the understanding after sitting at the foot of Bobby Hemmett, C. Freeman L., Phil Valentine, Dr. Francis Cresswell, and I was able to revisit with my mind's eye understanding of who we were, and that's what led to Hip Hop Decoded. You know what I'm saying? This book here, you know what I mean? And many conversations with the young gods, you know, Red Pill, Blue Pill, Adika Butler, I see the Duke of Tears, the conversations us young individuals were having after the lecture and how we saw the world in hip hop. I just became the Tahuti, and I, you know, scribed it, and it became what it is. But yes, that's how hip hop, or my love for hip hop, came about. And so I practiced all elements of it. I was a graffiti writer. I was terrible, but I was. I used to spin on my head. I was good at that. When my clothes was, I was coming home with my clothes all banged up. You know what I mean? I DJ'd a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I MC'd. You know what I mean? And when I got to the mic portion of it, that I knew that would be home for me in reference to that. And then later on, the so-called fifth element, or the ethereal element of understanding who we are, is what led to the book and the revisiting of it all. You know?
Dope. Yeah, fire. So real quick, this is Cedar Street in Manhattan for those who don't live in New York City.
Wow.
And this, the whole, you know, from my perspective and decoding symbolism is you, us, we.
Yes.
You know, and trapping you in the circle. You're the circle within the square. You know, and the square is Saturnian by nature, you know, sort of a hexagram, if you will, the 3D square to keep you in a 3D box. And if you think about it, where you live in a box, right? Where you work in boxes, right? The TV is a box. The air conditioner is a box, right? The bed is a box. But if you go to indigenous lands, you see triangles, right? You see huts that are circular at the bottom, right? You see pyramids, right? You see teepees, which a teepee is just a smaller version of a pyramid, right? And you see these in lands that are indigenous where they don't deal with these boxes. So sacred geometry, you know, is definitely a spiritual science. Go ahead, Dot. I feel like you got something to say. And
the turntable is a circle within a square. Think about turntable. The technique turntable is a square. It's a circle within a square. So we're talking sacred geometry, you know what I'm saying, everywhere we look. And
both sides of the force.
And both sides of the force.
Sides of the force, yeah. This is the Darth Vader side. The Luke Skywalker was hip-hop, right?
Yep.
And a funny fun fact, Dot, if you look at the Bronx on a map, it actually looks like a heart.
Wow.
Yeah, check that out when you get up there. Yeah, it actually looks like I'm gonna do a graphic and put it on IG, but it actually looks like a heart. So let's Dot, I want to talk real quick in closing April's story impacted me from where I was. Like I said, you know, that probably was the heaviest part of the book for me, and I had to put it down. Just because, man, I couldn't. I mean, I had my own trauma, but I couldn't imagine going through what she went through. You know, especially being a sensitive being I was as a child. Like I went through my own trauma, definitely, but you know, she went through. So first and foremost, how is she doing? As a grown up, and her journey. You know, what did you see in it? Any insight? Because when people read this, you know, again, I didn't get to the end, so maybe in the end there's something I don't know about or whatever. But what insight can you give me about her story? Because it definitely it weighed on my mind heavy.
The reason it took me 15 years to write the book was because of the trauma that I would have to relive regarding my young sister. Right? Now, my sister Wanda is my oldest sister, but she was taken by her biological father at birth.
Right.
And so she was able to escape a lot of the abuse and neglect that wound up on April. Now, here's the thing about April. April don't remember none of it.
Wow.
She has no recollection because she was only 3 years old.
Yeah, you forget all that stuff. Yeah.
So my story is, the book is dedicated to my two sisters because I need to fill in some blanks so that she understands. Now, just because she doesn't remember it physically, subconsciously, superconsciously, and infinitely conscious, she remembers every detail of it. And it probably had an effect on her life overall. April's doing amazing now. You know what I mean?
Good.
And so, but those things, and I had to tell it as transparent as I could. You know what I'm saying? So while I'm venerating my mother because of her struggles, I can't leave out the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I mean? This is how you heal. And so I wanted to make sure that we all can heal from the traumatic situation that my sister physically went through and my other sister emotionally went through, because even though she was loved by the new family that in my sister Wanda, she still didn't have a sense of home. You know, you know where you belong. And so that didn't happen for her until 48 years later when I was able to bring her home. You know what I mean? And so April, you know, like I said, because she didn't remember it, it made it a little easier for me to tell it so that now it's implanted in her, but she doesn't have to relive those moments like she has vivid pictures in her mind.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And to understand when we're talking about 16 and 17 and 18-year-old parents, grace has to be given to a lot of them. You know what I mean? That we don't give, because in my mind, my dad left when I was 17. He had me when he was 15, but he left my mother at 19. Yeah, and you know what I mean? Put yourself in the mind of a 19-year-old. You know what I mean? So I never blamed my parents for anything. I've accepted the role. I learned from it. And so watching April grow, watching her in the fields, because she's in the field of helping people. That's all she does. You know what I mean?
That's
and
beautiful.
So it's beautiful to watch. But as the story goes on, you know, she had a son. She was at NYU for a little while, getting ready to graduate that, went into the medical field and started helping tremendously and this and that. And so now she has the power and fortitude to write the rest of her story because that's her hero's journey.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That she's on to make sure she writes her story, because the hero's journey ain't always pretty.
No.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
How many times the hero look like he ain't gonna make it, and he or she find a way to overcome? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's many times this hero right here was like, fuck all you niggas.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. Like I always say, if you got a calling, it keeps calling. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you try to do. no matter.
It
And
keeps
I
calling.
tried to
Yes.
run several
You
different
can't run.
ways, times, areas.
I literally tried to run. I raced Malcolm one day. I was getting ready to get back on the bus. You know what I'm saying? Even in my darkest moment, just make this money and keep these people off my back. And I literally challenged Malcolm. He was 12, playing football. I challenged him to a race. And I got down in the Olympic stance, God. You know what I'm saying? And before I took off, I tripped over my own foot and broke my shoulder.
Wow.
And that was the ancestor saying, dude, you're not getting back on that bus. You can just forget about it. And if we have to do this to let you know, then so be it. I never got back on the bus another day.
Wow.
I had my damn bone sticking out of my shoulder going to pick up my daughter up from school. They thought I was crazy. You know what I mean? And then, you know, and I never got back on that bus again and said enough is enough. So the universe is going to make sure you do your work. So here it is. Yeah. We're doing our work, God. We're doing our work.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's gonna wake you up to something. Because I tell you, I've been, I'll tell you deeper. Like I, you know, like I've recently, like, look, Spirit's like, you got to get back into this. You gotta bring us back, basically. Like, you got to bring us back, right? And, you know, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And they like, you know, you got to move too. That's one of the things. So I'm in the process of moving, you know, in the next couple of months. And you know, but I was like, but I'm kind of comfortable where I'm at. I'm not gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, so I'm getting ready to go see my step granddaughter in Philly, and I love holding my I just love being with my granddaughter.
I know that's right. Hell yeah!
I love holding her, man. It's beautiful, and so I'm excited. I'm gonna go down there and see her. My whole bookshelf. Now my bookshelf probably got 150, 200 books on it, easy. And then I got books every place really around my house, and whole bookshelf crashes, God.
Wow.
Out of nowhere. I ain't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I had a candle lit. So if I wasn't here, it probably would have bumped the candle because I'm a little reckless. I keep my candles lit for certain situations, right? And, you know, even though probably wouldn't have hit, but who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Who knows?
The whole bookshelf fell, God. Boom. So, all right, that happened. Okay. So that night, right, I call my daughter, my oldest. I tell her I can't come because I just can't move around with that, you know, my house like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I fix everything up. Boom, take my time. I go sit on the bed, guy. The side of the bed, one side of the bed falls. I prop it up. 2 days later, the other side of the bed falls. Bed frame, crack.
Yeah. Coincidence is the language of the ancestors. You can go, that's strange. Or you can go, what are they trying to convey from the other side? How much force did it take for them to knock down that bookshelf from where they are and bridge their world and this world? But to get it done so that Goofy just not getting it. Okay, let's give Goofy a rudimentary sign that, bro, let's go. Yeah.
So I got a bed on the floor now and stuff being packed. Put it like that.
Yeah.
Black Dot, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate your time. I appreciate having you. I hope we can do this again in the future.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure. Any other offerings you have coming for us? I know you got Urban X. Any other offerings, books? I know you have something tomorrow with Red Pill. If you want to plug that, you know.
I'm gonna be with Red Pill and Professor Griff. We're gonna put a final nail in the P. Diddy trial. And so many layers to this that we just need to end it. You know what I mean? Because it does represent the end of a cycle. Yes. And we want our brothers and sisters to be aware it is a great time. Me and Malcolm are gonna do a podcast Thursday. Shh. All right, so put that out there. And right now, I'm just preparing my new book to be released on my birthday, August 27th.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So what people have now is, advanced copies and stuff like that. But we are going to take this thing up a notch for my birthday. I'm going to have soft covers. I'm going to have ebooks. I'm going to have audio books. So it's all going to be hit. So I'm gonna need the support during that time, and that's pretty much it. So stay tuned.
You have the best book rollout I've ever seen of any person in any culture.
Thank you.
I've never seen a book rollout.
Everybody said the same thing.
So fly. So
thank you.
So it was magnificent. And then you get the book, and there's these QR codes and different hidden chambers you could tap into. Like the book game, you're revolutionizing the book game. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna take some of that from you, Doc. You know what I'm saying?
Take it all. Take it all.
My book will be coming out October 13th. That's the due date. I'm working on the finishing touches right now.
Yes.
I'm very excited to bring it out. I'll announce the title and all that. You know, I don't want to say it right now because people, even though I got a small channel, people be stealing my ideas, Doc. So
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The size of your channel don't matter. It's that energy. You know what I mean? And so absolutely.
Yeah, Doc. So I'm gonna let you go, Doc, and I'm gonna tell people check me out. I'll be coming back soon. You know, look out for me. Hit your notifications, subscribe, hit the like button, smack the like button, mash the like button. I know you got something from this conversation. I know it's gonna stimulate, and share it with people that you think would love it. You know what I'm saying? And it's been an honor. Doc, you guys are having a show on Urban X on Thursday. So we'll tell the people to subscribe to Urban X. Definitely. That's one of my homes. And I'll definitely be there on Thursday, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to any other offerings you bring out, man, you know, and hopefully I'll be able to see you before I go in some other capacity. And also behind the scenes, I want to talk to you because there's some spots in the Bronx that are very powerful that I want to put you. I'm not going to tell too many people because I don't want tourists and people. This ain't going to be on TikTok and nothing like that. But I'm going to tell you so you can tell people that need this place because this is places I do work at. You know what I'm saying?
As I'm learning more and more about the book publishing game, hit me up. So I got some information that'll make it easier for you. All right?
Oh, okay. Definitely. Honored. Yeah, I'll hit you up sooner than later.
All right. Peace.
Peace to the gods. Peace to the tribe. One love.